It's a forced Sabbath. Oh yeah, unprecedented. We're enjoying it. Pastor Nika was saying to me. Pastor Nika was saying to me some days ago. She said, "Well, it's looked like this is going to work well for introverts, but for extroverts, this is not going to look good. You guys need to have mercy on us."
Well, we'll be kicking off. People have sent a lot of questions.
All right.
So I once we get to 1,000, all right, we're 1,000 people, so I think we can start with 1,000 now.
Wow.
All right, we're good. We can shoot.
Good. I'm ready.
You're right. All right. Okay. So for the viewers, this is the way we're going to the way I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to look at 3 levels of leadership, so people understand. The first is self-management. The second level we're going to look at is when you are now moved from self-management to managing a group of people. Then the third level we're going to look at is when you now manage the people who are managing the group of people. So you are now managing the manager. So we'll stop at that particular level. So I'm going to start out from the first level, and that's where the first question is going to come. And I will call it the individual contributor level, which means as an individual, what you are contributing. So, Reverend Sam, I'm going to ask you this question first. Okay. I want to ask now, diligence is doing a little thing or little things for a long time until something big happens. So what I want to ask you in your own personal experience, what are the 3 little things, or just 3 little things, most significant things you did for a long time that caused big things to happen in your life?
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The first one would be reading the Bible.
Okay.
I realize the Bible, serves as my tuning fork. When you tune a guitar, you have a standard with which you tune. These days, they use an app to tune. And when the human system is tuned to God's frequency, then downloading comes easy. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is to read the Bible. Job 32 verse 8, Elihu said, there's a spirit in man. The inspiration of the Almighty gives him understanding. So the reason why people find music very powerful, even drugs, the reason why they find them powerful is because they take the human system up to that system where that level where there's inspiration. And when there's inspiration, you catch things. Your intuition is tuned to a high level. So I find when I read the Bible like that in the morning, it puts my system there. By the time I'm having a shower, I'm usually I'm downloading things. So it's worked so well for me that I'm going to be doing it's a habit I'm not going to stop. It's worked too much. The ideas literally create my world and create the future. One second thing that I have done over a long period of time is planning, goal setting. Again, I tell people, simple illustration. Most of us in Nigeria love football or soccer.
Yeah.
So I tell people, if you have a football field, you have 2 of the best teams in the world, and you have no goalposts. Nobody is going to win. There will be no joy, no celebration. You just have to define that small space with that goalpost through which, if the ball goes, then you say it's a goal. So people kick their balls in different directions in life. But without a target goal defining that small space, you have no fulfillment. There's no joy. Yeah, there's a lot of activity. So for me, the goal setting, I do the yearly one, I do the weekly one, and then in the morning, I check, decide on the things I'm going to do for the day. I found it so powerful, actually, that in 1997, January, I did a long range one for 60 years. Wow. Because I stumbled on something, yes, that a Harvard professor stumbled on. He called it the law of time perspective, but it's actually the principle of vision. The longer the time you take into consideration when you are deciding and acting, the higher you rise. So the person that thinks 10 years will always rise higher than the person thinking 10 weeks or 10 months or 10 days. So I do goal setting consistently. One other thing that I do consistently, adding value. Adding value. Okay, I realize that's the essence of life, really. So every single day, I must do something to add value to somebody. And when value goes from you, value will come back.
Great. All right. Okay. So 3 things: reading of Bible, so people that are taking notes, goal setting, and also consistently finding how you will add value. All right. The second question, still on this individual contributor level, is in order to grow in leadership, apart from personal competencies, and then things such as punctuality, reliability, content, there are work values such as acceptance of company culture.
Yeah.
So how does one identify? Because there are a lot of people that don't understand the culture of the organization they're working in. Now, they're talented, they are skillful, but they don't match the culture. And because of that, they can't get promoted or they can't rise within that organization. So how does one identify the culture of the place and quickly adapt to it?
That's a very, very good question. Very, very important one at that. The major factors, the basic factors that create the value or the culture of an organization, first, is the vision. The overall vision, the long-term goal of the organization. That is what shapes the decisions of the executives. You know, that is what shapes the operations, shapes the systems, shapes the budgeting and everything. So you have to first of all ask yourself, so where is this organization going? Where is this organization going? So that you can align everything you do every day with that. Some people, especially professionals, skilled people with expertise, they go into an organization, of course, usually, if it's an organization with systems, you belong to a department. So people are so consumed with their own role or with the function of their department. They don't think about the overall, objective of the organization. So they pull the department in a direction that is different from that of the overall organization. With that, you create a subculture. So you've got to be mindful of the vision, mindful of the mission, and then very importantly, the core values of the organization. What are the things that are very important, that they rate very highly? What are the priorities for the organization? You will always have competing priorities. People don't know that if they join an organization, they've imbibed at a subconscious level the vision and the values of the organization they worked for previously, maybe let's say for 10 years or 15 years. So if you are not conscious of it, you just find yourself saying, you see where I was before. But that's not how we used to do it. This is not where you were before. This is not where you were working before. So you have to, when you understand the vision of where you are now, you will understand how it is different from where you were coming before. If your idea is going to add value to this one and still help it to go where it's going, fine. So you've got to understand the values. If integrity is very important to them, it has to become important to you. If excellence is very important to this organization, it has to become important to you. If punctuality is very important to the organization, it has to become important to you. One of the challenges with organizations too is that when we measure performance, we don't measure alignment with values, with the values of the organization. So people run into problems and they don't understand what the problem is. They believe they're working hard, that they're trying. You don't even know. And then they think personalities are their problem. They think it's the supervisor. They think it's the manager. So I would say to the average person, calm down. Ask yourself, what's the vision? Where are they going? Where do they want to go? And help them to move in that direction, the mission. But then especially the core values. Now, there are stated core values. There are also values that are not stated in an organization. And you need to pay attention to check those unstated values that are important to them and also align with those ones. It's not being stupid or being mumu like people think. I have a mind of my own. Sorry, you should have built a company of your own and then express your mind there. But since you've come to another organization, align your mind to the mind of the organization.
All right then. Okay then. All right, the third one, the third question, we're getting into management now. So one of the major failures in leadership by experience, all right, in terms of, because what a leader does, he selects talent and delegates it. But one of the major areas where people experience a shortcoming, particularly in this part of the world, is leaving the wrong person in a job for too long. That is, the person was right at a time. Now, that person might have been personally loyal, maybe to the owner of the organization or whatever, but they no longer fit. Now, how do I make the changes without destroying the entire morale of the workforce? Because people know this person has been here for a long period of time and the person has been loyal, you know, so people might weigh that more than the competencies that you're asking for.
Well, I think a lot of leaders have to deal with this. A lot of, especially startup entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's usually a tough decision to make. When you start an organization, you are at the entrepreneurial phase. At that phase, there's a lot of flexibility. You are taking big risks. You don't have many people working with you. So you really value the people that join you at the beginning. They play multiple roles the way you play multiple roles. You are the CEO, you are the accountant, you are the HR manager, you know, you are the IT manager. You play multiple roles. As growth comes, then you bring in professionals. And they take some of those functions. Because if you go too long playing those roles, you will become the problem of the organization. Because you are doing things that are not your specialization. When the professionals come in, they will begin to pull you towards professional management. They are the experts in their own area. They have standards in their own area of skill. So they'll begin to ask you to align with those standards. It's like the accountant, for example, will tell you you have to follow this ratio, the balance sheet has to look this way, and so on. Or the cash flow is going down, and so on. If you are smart as a leader, you had better listen to them, you know. But that's where you will have to manage your emotions, manage your ego, and you will have to make tough decisions. So the entrepreneur, you'll find out many entrepreneurs do what they do out of passion. It's like those of us that are in church ministry, for example. We did not start churches to make money. We started churches out of passion to see God touch people's lives and so on. Same thing with many people in business. You just want to change something. But now these professionals come in and the accountant is looking at it and telling you, Oga, we have to shift. We have to do this. If we don't, you won't have any company in another 2 years, or, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's where the HR person, for example, begins to tell you, this person is not performing. This person needs to move. How do you balance ensuring somebody is doing the right job, somebody's in the right place, somebody's competent for the role they're playing, with rewarding loyalty? Because the question is usually, this person has been there. I spoke to someone with a very large organization some years ago, and it was obvious that some of the people at the top, at the highest level, had lost their drive. They had lost their passion. So, and he said to me, you know, many of them have achieved their own dreams. They own houses, they have money, they've seen their kids through university and so on. I said, then why don't you let them go? He said, the narrative that will go around now is that I destroyed their lives, that I used them for 25 years and then threw them away and destroyed their lives. I admit it's not always an easy decision, but I challenge leaders to do principle-centered leadership. Principle-centered leadership. And the thing with principles is that they have no respect for persons, no respect for status. So you make a principle or you make a policy, for example, in the organization. You have to be able to make decisions based on the policy. It doesn't matter whether it's your brother or your sister or anything. And unfortunately, that's what we lack in Africa, because the whole culture itself is not principle-centered. Somebody got the job in the first place because they are somebody's brother or somebody's sister. So to take them out becomes a problem. They're going to call the whole village to beg you, to plead with you. If the person came on merit, went through the process, you would have laid a foundation there. So I would encourage leaders, be principle-centered, make policies. Don't show favoritism. You will need to move people. You will need to. What did Jesus say in John 15? The branch that bears fruit, he says the branch that does not bear fruit, he cuts it. So I tell our staff that I like that passage in King James Version. He cutted it. So I tell them, when I need to, I will use knife. If knife won't work, we will use cutlass. I said, emotional blood will flow sometimes. But he said, the one that beareth fruit, he pruned it. I tell them that pruned is just a fine word, that pruned. It is still cutting. In other words, even what is productive has dead wood. And you need to cut it away so the resources can go to the productive part. That's where leadership comes in. A leader must be able to make tough decisions and to communicate them. If your motive is always love, you will find out you'll be able to make those tough decisions. You'll be able to hurt people without them hating you. because I've had to make a lot of tough decisions like that.
All right. Now, a pastor sent this to me. He wanted you to, and it's like this question. As a young pastor, he says, how do you prepare your team for change, all right, or transition, particularly in positioning the team to absorb new talents without creating tension or bad blood?
Good one. First, let people know that change is normal. And that's part of the characteristics of a leader that has vision. Vision is so critical to a leader. You know, once you continue to paint picture of that, what we're becoming in the future, where we're going, everybody knows we're not staying here. So status quo is not normal with us. We're going to move. We're ahead. So change is going to be normal here. People want the progress, but they don't like the process. When you are describing the change, sometimes they'll be happy. When you begin to effect the change, they will resist you. Okay? So it is good to be upfront about it. We're going to be changing here. We're going to be changing here. When the early years of Daystar, for example, once I saw that at the beginning, we were at the risk of, you know, keeping things the way they were. I rotated all the leaders on their positions. I just rotated, just moved everybody. You move from here to here, you move from here to here, you move from there to there. And the main reason was to get the point across. Here have we no continuing city. There is no ownership of any position here. Okay? It was shocking at first, but they did it the first time and then did it the second time. So in our system, people know. We have a strong cell group system. We rotate the district pastors, the pastors over the districts. You know, our satellite churches, we rotate the pastors. So people know. It's just that it's slower now because we're big. Okay? But I just wanted people to know that change was normal. And then in those early years, I bought Who Moved My Cheese. Okay? For our leaders. Then I went through the book with all the staff. It took us a few weeks of staff devotion. I went through it. I like the first principle there. They always move the cheese. Change is constant. And with that, a leader has to be strategic. So I let them know the future is not going to be the same as this. We have to prepare for it. So with that, people know we're going to be adjusting things. So at the point at which I want to bring in new talent, usually I do a rotation like that. And then the new talent is able to come in. You have to be sure too, there are two dimensions to it. I emphasize too on specialization, on talents, on skills. So I run a test. There is this test, I'm trying to remember the name. Is it the Bellerin test now? That measures the personality, the team personality, they call it, team personality test. Your personality or temperament is one thing on a normal day. When you find yourself in the team, there's a kind of personality that you display. My type is called the plant, where the ideas people. You have the person that is a company worker, their own, you make the decision, they execute, you know. You have the finisher, that's where Pastor Nick falls. When you've done all your discussing, all your plan, everything, and everything looks perfect to you, they're the ones that look and point out what is wrong there. They help you to put the icing on the cake, okay, and so on. With that, I emphasize to our team that each of us has our unique roles. So you don't need to compete with somebody else. Just be the best you that there is. For example, I assure our team members, I know church members will compare you with me. Don't let them put you under pressure. teaching is my #1 gift. Wisdom, teaching. That's where my primary gifts are. So the teaching, even if you wake me up from sleep, I will make sense to people. Don't let them measure you on teaching. Just let's find your own area. So whenever you go up, just move in that direction. They won't say that you did not do well. If each person is comfortable in their role, they won't be too threatened by someone that is coming, especially if the person is just coming to add their own flavor and not take their own place. But you also need to coach the person that is coming in. You need to coach the person that is coming in. The person needs to know how to manage the egos of the people that are there already. How to show them respect over time so that the person can be accepted. Sometimes if you bring somebody in, majority of the people are already there do not accept, you may have to take the person out, which is not the best.
All right, sir. Okay. Now, somebody asked, he says, how do you switch from transactional type of leader to a transformational type of leader? Running a small, medium business with high volume can put you in a place where you are transactional for a while, which is not sustainable. Now, just for people to understand the terms he's using, transactional leader being a leader, you're interested in driving the bottom line and it works, and the success of the business is hinged on a few. As a matter of fact, it's hinged on you. Transformational is when you realize that's no longer sustainable to be transactional, and you want to institutionalize the business such that it generates revenue with processes that are dynamic and not dependent upon the individual. So he talks about switching. All right. So a few things that you want to know about that.
Okay. Well, the basic thing about a transformational leader is the fact that you empower people to be able to do what you do. I would say, well, since this person is asking specifically, I'll tell anybody at any point in time, the